And alongside the Iranian perspective, we also want to understand what this means from Pakistan's security and strategic point of view. Pakistan has emerged a key mediator between Washington and Tehran. So how significant is this diplomatic role for Islamabad? And what could a successful ceasefire mean for Pakistan and the wider region? Let's bring a senior analyst, Masood Khan, in our conversation. Mr. Khan, thank you so much for joining here on World Tonight. Mr. Khan, how significant is Pakistan's role in the latest US-Iran diplomatic activity?
Well, this is very significant. Pakistan has once again been approached by Washington, and Field Marshal Asim Munir visited Tehran. And the initial reports suggest that the mediation was successful in facilitating communications between the two countries, and also persuading both sides to come back to the negotiating table. So I think that this is a very, very good development, and the entire world is waiting for the resumption of talks between Tehran and Washington. And this time probably we're trying once again that these should be direct face-to-face talks. So let's hope that the mediation started at the behest of, at the request of the United States, this time succeeds. And what it has manifested, this visit has manifested that Pakistan continues to enjoy the trust of both Tehran and Washington.
And look, Field Marshal Asim Munir has reportedly spoken directly with both President Trump and Iranian officials. Do you think this suggests Pakistan has become a trusted channel between the two sides?
Well, right from the beginning, Pakistan has been a trusted channel, and there was no doubt about that. When the Memorandum of Understanding was signed, it was a culmination of the efforts made by Pakistan, and these efforts were backed by regional states, also by China and European Council and the United States itself, of course. And this was a remarkable document because it explored areas of agreement between the two countries and laid out the framework for further negotiations that amply demonstrated that Pakistan enjoyed the trust of Washington and Tehran. But in between, of course, there were many other mediators who also played a role. There was Qatar and there was Oman, and at one point I think the Iraqi Prime Minister also got involved. But throughout, for the most sensitive talks, Pakistan has been trusted, and especially I would like to say that Field Marshal Asim Munir has been the main conduit or the main channel for communication with Tehran, and vice versa. I mean, also Tehran also prefers to communicate with Washington through Field Marshal Asim Munir. So we have, to answer your question, I would say that Pakistan enjoys that trust in both capitals and also the heads of state and government of the region and beyond.
Right, and moving on with next question. So if or when we could take both of them. So I would use if and when the ceasefire is announced and the Strait of Hormuz reopens, how significant would that be for Pakistan's economy and energy security?
Well, first, during this trip, I think the Field Marshal Asim Munir has tried to persuade the Iranians and also the Americans to agree to a 60-day ceasefire, extension of the ceasefire, or a new period of 60 days for ceasefire, cessation of all sorts of hostilities. Now, as you said, if and when it happens, both sides probably are willing to accept it, but they have not made a formal announcement to that effect so far. So when they make that announcement, I think that let's hope that two things would happen. One, that the Strait of Hormuz would become operational, and the traffic, the naval traffic, oil tankers and cargo vessels will start moving back and forth. And both sides would be satisfied with the arrangements that have been suggested by Iran and Oman I mean, I'm supposing that with certain modifications, the United States would agree to that arrangement. This too is a temporary arrangement. And the second thing is that there are talks on nuclear issues would start, which are the crux of the matter. Also, I think that when we're talking about free navigation through the Strait of Hormuz, we are also presupposing that the United States would remove its naval blockade and remove bulk of the sanctions which have been imposed on Iran.
Right, Mr. Khan, and do you mind showing us a picture on what Pakistan would gain strategically if it succeeds in helping Washington and Tehran reach an agreement?
Yes, that was part of your last question. And well, I would say that, I mean, if there's stability in the region, that would, of course, be salutary for Pakistan. Also, it would improve prospects of our economy, not only trade, but also investment. And we would have ease in the energy stress that we are feeling right now, because the prices are cyclical right now. The energy prices, fuel prices are cyclical, and they kind of propel inflationary tendencies. So if there is stability in the region, if there is economic equilibrium, then of course we would tend to gain. About the quantifiable benefits or dividends that we can get, I would say that we can get cheaper supplies of fuel from the Gulf region, also from Iran. I think that would be a new pipeline for us, not in the formal sense, but I mean we can import oil from Iran without sanctions. And I think that Pakistan can attract investment not only from the Gulf region, but from Iran and the whole of West Asia.
Right, and moving now further, where I would love to talk about Iran and US and the differences, but because there are major differences between Iran and the US. Taking this into account, what could derail the current diplomatic momentum?
Well, first, let's hope that this initial effort that has been made by Pakistan, by Field Marshal Asim, this succeeds, and that the talks that happened in Tehran would be accepted. I mean, it would be received favorably by the United States, particularly the decision points that were made there, or the messages that were conveyed by Tehran. So once we have crossed that threshold, then of course we would keep our fingers crossed until the United States and Iran resolve all their differences, particularly in regard to nuclear matters. There are a series of issues that have to be settled. Of course, I mean, the central pivotal point right now is the Strait of Hormuz, but in the nuclear realm, you have issues like removal of all the sanctions or release of frozen assets of Iran. And finally, I mean, the agreement on the percentage of enrichment of uranium and the disposal of the stockpiles that Iran has already. They're more than 400 kg. So whether they are destroyed or whether they are, as President Trump prefers to call them, nuclear dust, in whatever shape they are, we have to see what can be done with these stocks, and also whether or not these issues can be resolved. You know, President Trump walked away from this, the 2015 nuclear deal, Iran nuclear deal, and now he wants a deal better than that deal, and that's a big target. It's a very high benchmark, and let's see how they work around it to strike a deal that is acceptable both to Iran, to the United States, and also to the members of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. All
right. Well, thank you, Mr. Khan, for your updates and for your time here on the show. So So the diplomatic picture between Washington and Tehran appears to be shifting here. Pakistan says it is working to bring the two sides closer, while Iran has outlined conditions for negotiations and the reopening of Strait of Hormuz. But the real test will be whether these diplomatic efforts can produce a lasting ceasefire and eventually a broader agreement.